Hello my dear friends, myself Ashok D. Bagda from Dr. Subhash Technical Campus, and in today's lecture we are going to discuss about introduction about balancing from the subjects of dynamics of machinery. So let us start. So in this session we are going to discuss about types of forces, need of balancing, static and dynamic balancing, and effect of unbalance in machinery. So before starting, let us see one example. So my dear friends, if our body is not balanced, then we know that we cannot stay on the flooring. Sometimes we may also lay down on the floor or okay. So we know that if our body is not balanced, then we can imagine that what happens. Similarly, my dear friends, every machine must be a balance. So if machine is not balanced, then there is a number of effect. There is a, we can say that there is a uneven noise, vibration, sometimes machine maybe fails, and some such kind of problems may be develop in a machine. So my dear friends, we can say that every machine must be a balance. So first of all, let us. So a machine, generally if we consider any machine, my dear friends, if we consider any machine, then a machine having three types of parts. Some parts having rotary motion, that means rotating parts. Some parts having reciprocating motion, that means reciprocating parts. And some parts, out of these some parts having some rotary as well as reciprocating motion. So these parts are known as a floating parts. So every machine, in any machine, there are three types of parts are available: rotary parts, reciprocating parts, and floating parts. So my dear friends, each and every component of machine subject some forces. So first let us understand about static forces. So static forces. So the static forces acting on the machine component are due to the weight of component. In a simple way, we can say that. So my dear friends, static force. So in a simple way, we can say that when the magnitude and direction of the force remain constant at any instant of time, then we can say that our force is static force. If the magnitude and direction of forces acting on machine component is remain constant at any instant of time, then we can say that it is a static force. Suppose there is one table is resting on a flooring. So after, suppose because of this weight of the table, some force acting on the earth. Now after 5 years, if we come again and see that what is the force acting on the earth because of this table, then we can say that this force having same magnitude and same direction. So we can say that because of some such kind of forces are known as the static forces. Now we consider dynamic forces. So dynamic forces, the dynamic or inertia forces are due to the acceleration of various component of the machine. The acceleration may be due to the change in magnitude or may be due to the change in direction of velocity. The resultant inertia force or a dynamic force change in magnitude or direction both or although in the most of cases only change in the direction. My dear friends, the dynamic forces, in a simple way we can say the dynamic forces means when the magnitude and direction both or either magnitude or a direction will change at given instant of time, then we can say that forces is known as the dynamic forces. So the loading on the road, suppose if we consider a bike is if we riding a bike on a rough road, then our bike will consist some dynamic forces. Now let us understand need of balancing. So my dear friends, if our machine is not balanced, then we can say that there are some vibration, uneven noise, sometimes our machine parts may be fail. So let us consider why balancing is required. So in comparison with static forces, the dynamic forces is very large in magnitude. So let us consider an example, a 1-ton rotor of a steam turbine running at 3000 rpm. The distance of center of gravity of rotor from the axis of rotation is 2 mm. Due to the imperfect machining, inaccurate pitch of blade, non-homogeneity of material, etc., then the resultant dynamic force will be a centrifugal force, because here this is the shaft, this is the rotor, and the CG of this rotor is displaced from the neutral axis of shaft. So we know that some centrifugal force may be developed in this direction. So centrifugal force Fc is equal to m r into omega square. If we put the value, then we obtain 197.39 kilonewton. My dear friends, the dynamic force of such high order produce a hammering action. Now my dear friends, if we consider static forces, then there is a 1-ton rotor. So 1 ton means 1000 kg. 1000 kg into 10, around 10 we multiply with gravitational force 10. So 1000 into 10, that means 10,000 Newton. So 10,000 Newton means 10 kilonewton. So static force is, the value of the static forces in this rotor is 10 kilonewton, whereas the value of dynamic forces is 197, that means around 200 kilonewton. So we can say that the dynamic force is 20 times more than the static forces. So if the dynamic force of such a higher order produces a hammering action, set up vibrations, and has a tendency to relieve the machine from the foundation, it is realized that no foundation will normally be able to withstand forces of such high magnitude and frequency, and that's why balancing is required. The balancing, now we can say that what is balancing? So balancing is the process of correcting or eliminating either partially or completely the effect due to the resultant inertia forces and couple acting on machine parts or a component. Thus in a simple way we can say that what is balancing. So in a balancing, our aim is to reduce unbalanced forces in the machine parts. Okay, to reduce or to eliminate unbalanced forces. Thus, the purpose of balancing is to avoid vibration of machines by balancing the resultant inertia forces and couple. The balancing is highly essential, especially in high-speed applications such as electrical motor, generator, turbine, pumps, aircraft, and machine tool, etc. So my dear friends, balancing is always required in a high-speed application. So we know that there are the various high-speed applications, machines are available. So we always balance the high-speed machines. Now let us understand about static balancing. The system is said to be statically balanced if the center of mass of CG of the system of masses lies on the axis of rotation. My dear friends, we have seen this example. So in this case, the CG of rotor is not on the axis of rotation of shaft, and because of that, this rotor is having some unbalanced forces. So when the center of gravity of the body or a system lies on the axis of rotation, then we can say that our system is statically balanced. In another way, we can say that for the system to be statically balanced, the resultant of all dynamic forces acting on the system during the rotation must be 0. So in a simple way, we can say that if summation of all dynamic forces acting on the system is 0, then our system is said to be a static balance. Now another one is a dynamic balancing. It is also known as a complete balancing. The system is said to be a dynamically balanced if satisfied following two conditions. First, the resultant of all dynamic forces acting on the system during the rotation must be 0. That means summation of all dynamic forces acting on the system is 0. If this condition is satisfied, then system is said to be a statically balanced. Now, my dear friends, sometimes the unbalanced forces acting on the machine in a different plane, then because of the direction of unbalanced forces in a different plane, some couple may be also produced in such kind of machine. Then if we balance the couple, then we can say that our system is dynamically balanced. So the resultant couple due to the all dynamic forces acting on the system during the rotation about any plane must be zero. That means another condition, couple due to the dynamic forces acting on the system is zero. That means if the all dynamics, if all the couple acting on the system, summation of all couple acting on the system is zero, then we can say that our system is dynamically balanced. That means if two condition is satisfied, summation of all dynamic forces acting on the system is zero and summation of all couple acting on the system is zero, then our system is said to be a dynamically balanced. If only one condition is satisfied, that summation of dynamic forces acting on the system is zero, then we can say that static balancing. Now, effect of unbalance. My dear friends, we know that there is a various effect of unbalanced forces, unbalance in machinery. So we know that if our bike, we can say that if our bike or automobile, if we consider, if our bike is unbalanced, then there is a uneven noise in a machine may be created. So if any machinery having uneven noise, then we can say that a machine having some unbalance. Second one is a vibration. We know that if our system is unbalanced, our machine is unbalanced, then some vibration may be occur in a machinery. Sometimes we consider looseness in a assembly parts. My dear friends, we know that in our bike, after some period of time, we have to tighten nut and bolts, various nut and bolts in bikes because of vibration, because of unbalanced forces. And another effect is a fatigue failure of component. So our component of machinery may be failed because of the unbalanced forces. So my dear friends, I hope you understand about the balancing and why we need balancing and what are the effect of balancing. Thank you. Hello guys, myself Ashok Bagda from Dr. Subhash Technical Campus, and today we are going to discuss about balancing of several masses rotating in a single plane. So let us start. First of all, let us understand what is balancing. So balancing is defined as the process of designing a machine in which unbalanced force is minimum. That means if we consider any machine, and if a machine having minimum or a no unbalanced force, then we can say that our machine is in complete balance. In another way, we can say that balancing is the process of eliminating or correcting the effect of resultant inertia forces and couples acting on the machine part. So in a balancing, we are going to eliminate or correct the effect of resultant unbalanced forces and couple. Now let us understand two things. First one is a, here we consider four masses. So mass is in a same plane. That means four masses in a same plane. So here we consider one shaft. On this shaft there are M1, M2, M3 and M4. These four masses are rotating at some radius and at some angular position. So these four masses are rotating in a single plane. These four masses are rotating in a single plane. So if we draw the front view from this side for this configuration, then we see all masses are in a single plane. Now if we see from that side and we draw, we consider this OX, this line is a horizontal line and this point is O. So if we consider OX is a horizontal reference line, and by considering this reference line, if we draw a left hand side view, then we obtain such kind of configuration. That is nothing but that is a angular position or a space diagram for the masses. So in a left hand side view, you can see clearly the M1 mass, which is making an angle theta 1, this M2 mass which is making an angle theta 2 with OX. Similarly, theta 3 and theta 4. So these are the angular positions of 4 masses. Now, second condition, 4 masses in different plane. 4 masses in different plane. So here you can clearly see that the m1 mass is rotating in one plane. This m2 mass, it is also rotating in another plane. This m3 mass, it is rotating in another plane, and this m4 mass, it is also rotating in another plane. So there are two conditions. First one is a masses, several masses rotating in same plane, and second condition is several masses rotating in different plane. But in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about only several masses. Several masses, that means 4 masses. We consider 4 masses rotating in a same plane. So let us consider 4 masses as shown in figure. So this is a left hand side view. We can say that for the masses, this is the center O, is a shaft. It is a neutral axis of shaft. This is a reference. OX is a horizontal reference line. Okay, now let us consider 4 masses having magnitude m1, m2, m3 and m4, rotating at a distances of r1, r2, r3 and r4 from the shaft as shown in figure. Now let us consider the 4 masses m1, m2, m3 and m4 which are making an angle of theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and theta 4 with the horizontal line OX as shown in figure. Now we can see that because of rotation, the m1 mass is rotating with omega angular speed. So these 4 masses are rotating with the same angular speed omega because 4 masses are attached on the same shaft. So the mass m1 is rotating with omega radian per second. That means omega angular speed. So some centrifugal force is generated in this direction. It is Fc1. Same way, some centrifugal force generated in this direction, radially outward direction, it is Fc2. Similarly, for masses m3, some centrifugal force Fc3 is generated in this direction, and same way, some forces, that means centrifugal force, generated in this direction. Now, this is the clear in this figure. We can clearly say that these 4 masses are concurrent forces. Because of these 4 masses, there are 4 centrifugal forces are developed, and these 4 centrifugal forces Fc1, Fc2, Fc3 and Fc4 are concurrent forces and also coplanar forces because these 4 masses are in same plane and 4 masses intersect at a single point. So these centrifugal forces are concurrent coplanar forces. Now let us understand. Let us consider this because of these 4 masses, our system is in unbalance. So first of all, we calculate the resultant centrifugal force. Okay, then we apply the balance mass in opposite direction, balancing force in opposite direction to the resultant force, and we eliminate this unbalanced resultant force by applying balancing force in this direction. So the magnitude, that means we can balance the system by 2 methods. First is an analytical method and second is a graphical method. So let us discuss. First one is analytical method. So we know that centrifugal force is m omega square r. So here m is mass, omega is the angular speed of shaft and r is the distance of masses from neutral axis. Now here omega square is same for all masses because if we calculate Fc1, then m1 omega square r1. If we consider Fc2, then m2 omega square r2. So omega square is same for all masses, and the magnitude of centrifugal force for each mass is proportional to the, so magnitude Fc is, we can say that it is directly proportional to the m. It is a product of m and r. So it is proportional to the product of mass and radius of rotation. So in an analysis of centrifugal force, we consider centrifugal force is m into r. So we consider centrifugal force in kg into meter. Now let us calculate centrifugal forces for 4 masses. So first of all, in the first column we consider mass in kg. So we have 4 masses, m1, m2, m3 and m4. In the second column we consider radius in meter, and we consider notation for this radius is small r. So it is r1 for first mass, r2 for second mass, r3 for third mass and r4 for fourth mass. So if we calculate centrifugal force in kg into meter, that means m into r, then we obtain the value m1 r1, m2 r2, m3 r3, m4 r4. So we have 4 centrifugal forces, fc1, fc2, fc3 and fc4. So these are the centrifugal forces. Now let us, so we can calculate the resultant unbalanced force by using a polygon method. Okay, so first of all we resolve horizontal component of forces. So here we resolve horizontal component. So sigma FCH, that means it is a summation of all horizontal component of centrifugal forces. So we know that first centrifugal force is m1 r1, and because of horizontal component here we are adding horizontal component, so that's why we consider cos theta 1. So m1 r1 cos theta 1 plus m2 r2 cos theta 2 plus m3 r3 cos theta 3 plus m4 r4 cos theta 4. Similarly, we resolve vertical component. So sigma FCV is equal to m1 r1 sin theta 1 plus m2 r2 sin theta 2 plus m3 r3 sin theta 3 plus m4 r4 sin theta 4. So we can calculate resultant centrifugal force FCR. So we know that if we have horizontal component and if we have vertical components, then we obtain the resultant centrifugal force by using this equation under root sigma FCS square plus sigma FCV square. And we can calculate also the position of this resultant force with the reference line is a tan theta r is equal to vertical component upon horizontal component. So we obtain the position and magnitude. From this equation we obtain magnitude of resultant centrifugal force, and from this angle we obtain angular position. So we know the angular position and magnitude of resultant unbalanced force. So we directly add the balance mass at in opposite direction to the resultant force. That means we apply a balancing force having same magnitude as the FCR and in opposite direction to the theta r. That means the balancing mass we add at an angle theta b is equal to theta r plus 180 degree, and magnitude of balancing mass is also FCR. So if you consider FCR is equal to MBRP, so here we consider FCR is equal to MBRB. If we fix the RB, then we can calculate MB. Then we can calculate balancing mass. Now second method. So second method, it is graphical method. So in a graphical method, so this is based on polygon method. So if we draw, if our system is in complete balance and then we draw a polygon, then we obtain closed polygon. If our system is not in complete balance and if we draw a polygon, then we get an open polygon. Now the closing side of this polygon is nothing but it is a balancing mass, it is a balancing force. Okay, so for a to draw a force polygon we have to select some specific scale. So here our centrifugal force is here, the centrifugal forces are in kg into meter. Suppose m1 r1, the multiplication of m1 r1 is 5 kg into meter. Suppose we consider the multiplication of m1 r1 is 5 kg. Suppose the multiplication of, so here we consider 5 kg. So we have to consider here 5 kg into meter is equal to, we have to, okay, we consider not 5. So suppose m1 r1 is 5, so we consider 1 kg into meter. 1 kg into meter. So we consider 1 kg into meter is equal to 10 mm. Suppose if we consider 1 kg into meter is equal to 10 mm, then if we consider here 1 kg into meter is equal to 10 mm. So convert all the centrifugal forces in mm. So let us start. First of all, let us consider A is the initial condition. So from the from this figure we can say that the Fc1, which is making an angle theta, so Fc1, it is a centrifugal force because of mass m1, so having some magnitude is Fc1 and angular position is theta1. So here we draw a Fc1 line in mm which make an angle theta degree with horizontal, theta 1 degree with horizontal. Similarly, here we draw from this line from the endpoint B with a reference of horizontal line. Okay, so from this line from B, consider theta 2, it is theta 2. So draw FC2 line. So FC2 having some length mm in mm. So draw FC2 BC line. So draw BC line. Draw BC line. So again, draw AB line, makes an angle theta 1 with horizontal line. Then similarly, draw BC line which make an angle theta 2 with the horizontal line. Similarly, draw CD line which make an angle theta 3 with horizontal, and similarly draw DE line. Draw a DE line which make an angle theta 4 with the horizontal, and the closing side then finally measure EO. Finally measure EO. So here we can say that measure EO. So here we obtain FCB, that means balance centrifugal force. So FCO is equal to, here we have to measure not DO but it is EO. So measure EO line in mm into multiply with scale. Okay, so we obtain some value is equal to write MBRB. Now if we specified RB, that means if we specified RB, then we can calculate MB. So we obtain balancing mass MB. And similarly, from this line, from horizontal line, from E, we can obtain a theta B. So my dear friends, this is the graphical method. I hope you understand the both method, analytical method and graphical method. Thank you.